It's never-ending pie throwing time! Now, I love NEPTR. I don't really know why, maybe it's because of who he is. I mean, he's a robot brought to life by lightning that's nothing but a microwave on treads, is able to make an infinite amount of pies. It's such a weird character, how can you not like them? And maybe it's their personality, they're such an adorable ray of sunshine, never optimistic and always down to help others. He's infectious. He's such a lovable character. I just wish the show loved him. I don't think there has been an Adventure Time character that has been done dirtier by the show itself. Like, I've covered a few before. Flame Prince was great and a fascinating character who should have been explored so much more, but unfortunately the show seemed to decide their entire character was just around their relationship with Finn, and when they didn't want to do it anymore, they practically threw them away, speed-ran their development, and then practically forgot about them. Or Lady Rainicorn, practically a main character with so many important relations to other characters, barely getting any actual development or lore, when it was practically gift wrapped despite also being a part of status quo changes across the entire show. But probably due to introducing a language barrier they tried their best not to work around, they themselves were practically insignificant. But at least they got their screen time and moments that the show didn't live up to. NEPTR basically got nothing. After his introduction, he disappeared from the show for 3 seasons and only made sporadic appearances after, where everything else was pretty much as a cameo. He rarely if ever had any plot importance in his appearances after, and if anything, this is to be a punchline. Like seriously, pretty much every other appearance was him being bullied or abused, the where I literally made an entire compilation video of it, which is weirdly the one video I've made that gets consistent views for some reason and is the main reason I don't enlist them. He's practically the Waluigi of the show, never getting attention or spotlight despite his potential, as the show refuses to give them the time of day. But yeah, does NEPTR really deserve to be treated that way? This being garbage to forget about? Really have potential to genuinely be compelling and developed that just didn't feel like actually committing to. I want to check it out, so let's get into the life and lore of this never-ending pie-throwing robot. Now, unlike the other characters where I primarily just focus on their main and important episodes here, I am pretty much forced to cover every episode they're in because they have that little screen time. Yeah, you can already see where the problems lie. But now to his first and more important and in-depth episode, his introduction, Season 1's What is Life? So it starts off with Jake pranking Finn, which is literally just throwing a bag of butter at him. And that's really not a prank, but then again Finn seems to equate assault with pranking, so I guess you can't tell the difference. Finn desperately wants to get Jake back, and then for some reason decides to make a robot that throw never-ending pies at Jake. Yeah, I don't know how he got to that conclusion either. But it just cobbles some junk together to make a robot, clearly having no idea what he's doing, and it goes exactly how you think.
Dude, turn on! Why isn't it working?
I don't know what I expected.
But luck of luck, the robot gets struck by lightning, and in vague sci-fi rules, this gives them mystical and magical properties, bringing them to life. They introduce themselves as a never-ending pie-throwing robot, and Finn is glad that he is exactly what he needed. Which begs the question, did Finn's intention or subconscious science skills manage to make NEPTR exactly his intention? Or when the lightning gave NEPTR his soul and identity, it coincidentally was also a pie-throwing robot, not like a dishwashing one or something? You be the judge. But NEPTR is not fully powered, he's in complete agony, proving that NEPTR's life from the start was nothing but living torture.
Does it please you to watch me struggle?
Finn swears how to get fully operational with another bolt of lightning, and has to get Ice King's magic lightning to do the trick. Which, actually come to think about it, couldn't he just take NEPTR to PB? I'm sure to be fascinated with a sapient robot and would gladly help him get fully powered. Never really thought about that before. Oh yeah, rattleballs. PB doesn't like when robots think for themselves. This was a good call. But anyway, we get to know NEPTR more as he's characterized as being very naive and almost childlike, having a huge love and respect for Finn, which he considers his creator. It's one of the few times where Finn has genuine love and respect for NEPTR, but you can argue it's all because of wanting to prank Jake back, which is pretty upsetting.
But I really like you, NEPTR, and I'm not gonna rest until you're working properly and throwing hot pie at my best friend's face.
But he still does have genuine fun with NEPTR, and almost being a father figure to him, and it really makes me wish they kept this dynamic in future episodes. Finn also gets to the Ice Kingdom by these weird, unexplained talking balloons. We never know how or why he's met them, which is one of the most confusing things from Season 1. They're also jerks. Also this part.
It's not breaking and entering wrong?
No, we're pranking and entering, which is awesome.
Honestly, I just figured when Finn's in this situation, he'd say, "We're adventuring a bank!" Also, they treat it like the Ice King just has lightning somewhere in his castle, which doesn't make any sense at all. We got a Metal Gear around the Ice King to avoid attention. We also learn for maybe the only time in this series that the Ice King is in fact a gamer.
So,
The Ice King!
was a really hardcore gamer?
But after praying into a bit, they slip past them to the deeper chambers of the Ice Kingdom castle, where they barely just managed to escape an ice beast. And you know, this made me think. We never really got to explore the Ice Kingdom castle outside the main chamber. Like, look at this, it's practically a dungeon. You can do anything you want here. And we never get to see Finn and Jake actually trying to traverse it. They always go through the main door. Like, there should have been an episode where we had to go through it. It would have been so much cooler. But yeah, weirdly enough, Ice King does store his lightning in a weird chamber. Like, what is this? Is he powering his castle with them? This is so weird. But Ice King releases Icepede, a new ice creature that must have been the bane of Why Just Steal Our Garbage players.
Attack! Icepede, no! Ah!
As Ice King immediately tries to kill NEPTR, but oh yeah, that's what we wanted to happen. As NEPTR gets fully powered, he's able to fight back as the Icepede tries to kill Finn. You know, I never really noticed how much Season 1 really played a lot with the character expressions. And wait, how does NEPTR make his pies? He doesn't cook them, he makes them like magic. Is it actually magic? Is that why we need Ice King to be fully powered? And who cares, there's a pie making robot. But yeah, he needs to kill the monster as NEPTR says,
Boysenberries. And also poison.
yeah, what the hell? Ice King also really goes penitent as Finn goes and frees the balloons from their off-screen depth.
Blood oath is fulfilled.
Yay! To the mesosphere! Finally, we can die!
Okay, seriously, what's the story here? And Ice King somehow beats them there. He isn't here to hurt NEPTR, but says he's their son. It turns out his lightning didn't just power up NEPTR, but also gave NEPTR aspects of Ice King's personality, and to him, that makes him also NEPTR's father. Which technically isn't true, since he didn't create NEPTR, he just powered him up. I mean, if I chose my cell phone, I didn't make it. Did I think of the Frankenstein clip?
Your father was Frankenstein, and your mother was the lightning.
But this weirdly changes the episode to a custody battle where Ice King tries to appeal to NEPTR to be his prodigy and giving him an obsession with princesses, as Finn pleads with him to join him on a life of pranking. I mean, it's neat, but it's kind of where this happens out of nowhere.
Who can mate with robot princesses?
I wonder if Gridface is a robot princess. Ice King shows what will happen if he stays with the two, which just involves them farting on him. Might be an apt metaphor for how they treat him later.
Yeah! Putin on NEPTR to the max!
But being a prank lover, NEPTR's all for that. If you really want to convince him to show him this video, better chooses Ice King, which is a fake out, as Finn is able to knock him out and then they go to prank Jake as he's never seen or mentioned again for 64 episodes. But the episode ends on a pretty somber note where we see Ice King legitimately cared and wanted NEPTR as a son and just wanted genuine companionship. Really makes you think. But yeah, I actually really like this episode. It's a unique premise, NEPTR's a fun character here, we get to go through the Ice Kingdom almost like a dungeon, and we get more development and insight on Ice King, which is basically nothing in Season 1. It's worthy that NEPTR actually had more character development than BMO did this season, and introduced so much you could work with for their character. But they never showed up again this season. Now, it's understandable, Season 1 wasn't too serialized in itself. The only exception is really Marceline's 2 appearances in it. But never seeing them again for the entirety of Season 2 and 3 is just baffling. Like, there's no justification in story. Where else would he go after it? Jake's clearly not infinite pie torture. What they do with him? Unfortunately, NEPTR does suffer as his entire existence depended on the plot of his introduction, and it wouldn't be necessary to include him after. He was made to prank Jake. They pranked Jake. The end. But even regardless, they did introduce so many other aspects to him that even later on the series gets basically no acknowledgement or development. Like seriously, NEPTR is going to be very naive to the world. He doesn't know how things are, but is open to learn. His level of pranking, he doesn't even mind being pranked. But he has also been seeded with evil intent he seems to have to fight against, as well as his new obsession with princesses due to Ice King's influence. There's so much here the episode introduces that is literally non-existent after. Like seriously, not one of these things ever come back in NEPTR episodes.
Creator, troubled by a sudden urge to collect princesses.
And these are things you can build entire episodes around. Adventure Time loves this type of stuff, making the character more complex than they seem and really going all in on their development to make interesting and thought-provoking plots in episodes. But they just forgot all of that. I can't believe it. Like he's done so dirty or that practically all of his interesting traits is ignored for no good reason. Well, okay, that's not entirely true. NEPTR being evil actually was a thing. In a Flash game. NEPTR Out of Control, which I would play for myself, but Flashpoint doesn't seem to have run it sadly enough. Oh well, we still have Dino Run, that's what really matters. Where the brief story is that in a PB presentation, Ice King does something, and NEPTR's evil now and tries to hurl pies. Yeah, not exactly in depth. And the game is pretty much just Fruit Ninja, but with pies. And as far as I can tell, there doesn't seem to be an actual ending, so I guess NEPTR's have remained evil forever. Jeez. But even then, this plot is like, that would be interesting if NEPTR was used as a main antagonist. Finn's almost son turned to a life of evil unwillingly and Finn has to stop them. There's so much you can do. But no, a Fruit Ninja clone, that's all we get. Not even more NEPTR games, come on. And yeah, NEPTR's gone for 6 episodes straight. Like seriously, in all that time, they met Billy, met Marceline's dad, got Tree Trunks back, fought and defeated the Lich, got to find out Ice King's lore, and met Flame Princess. Wait, seriously, where the hell did he go after that? And he finally appears again in the season 4 introduction, Hot to the Touch, where Finn tries to appeal to Flame Princess, still struggling with her evil nature. But Finn and Jake had to try and make fireproof suits to try and stop her and go to the garage, I guess, in the back of the treehouse, also where Finn made NEPTR. And out of nowhere, he comes back. Now, where the hell was he this whole time? Well, apparently, they played hide and seek and they just never actually found him. Wow!
15 months, 4 days, 9 hours, and you guys did not find me. Ha ha ha.
Wow, okay, Finn and Jake literally forgot NEPTR for over a year. Jesus. Like, it's treated as a joke, but it really comes across as horrible that Finn basically forgot and threw at his own son when he stopped being useful to him, which is kind of important for later. I do wonder if there was another way they could have reasonably written out NEPTR and just abandoning him so they don't look so bad. Like, what if they gave him a job in the Candy Kingdom as a pie maker? That would have made sense. Or maybe became Tree Trunks apprentice or something. As to consider Tree Trunks kind of died early in season 1 and came back in season 2, it really wouldn't work. But still, Jesus guys. At least NEPTR doesn't seem to notice and think it's just a game. Finn quickly brushes the consequences aside and asks NEPTR if he can make some fireproof suits for them. And conveniently, he knows how. He's somehow a pie maker and a robotics expert. What can he do? And ironic how NEPTR's out here spitting the most fire in the entire episode.
Yes for foam and water. Yes for when it's hotter. I've got it, it's no bother, cause I live to please you, father.
And he's a rapper, man, even more skills. NEPTR makes frankly awesome mech suits, even capable of flight with built-in foam blasters. Like, seriously, this dude's awesome. How did you forget him? And he made these in like less than an hour. Imagine if he had an entire afternoon, he probably made the Island Guardian. Y'all throw him out when he could be the most useful asset you've ever had. But yeah, despite these materials and time, NEPTR's suits are fully able to withstand Flame Princess's assault and probably could defeat her if Finn didn't want to take the pacifist route and try to appeal to Flame Princess. But the fact that Flame Princess's fire is still somehow physically connected to her makes this much harder since putting out the fire actively hurts her, which puts Finn in a conundrum, which NEPTR takes the initiative and tries to finish the job himself.
Hold still, burning lady.
What?
Locked on target.
No, NEPTR!
Yes, creator.
Okay, maybe NEPTR's evil streak wasn't entirely forgotten. But Finn can't stand it as Flame Princess goes crazier as Finn breaks down and freaking breaks NEPTR. Oh my gosh, I hope he's okay. Well, NEPTR doesn't seem to mind.
Not true, creator. You haven't failed NEPTR. Even if everyone burns, you'll still have me, creator.
God, NEPTR, he's so wholesome. Like, literally after everything, he's always willing to stand by Finn's side and show his love for him. How can you not like him? But yeah, the episode plays out how it does. If you want to hear more of my insight on it and Flame Princess, please look at my video I made on her. But yeah, NEPTR doesn't get too much time to shine since the episode isn't about him, but we still get some important things. Most of all, it's his official return to the series, and then has to make sporadic appearances after. But it's one of the few plot-relevant appearances he's had too. It also introduces him as having insane engineering skills and rap skills, which unfortunately is the only thing that really carried on to later episodes. Yes, out of everything, his naivety of the real world, struggling with the evil, obsession of her princesses, being insane robotics, his rapping skill was the one thing Adventure decided to keep bringing back. Man, I'm just so disappointed. But it also reinforces NEPTR's nature that doesn't even notice that he was pretty much abandoned by his family and immediately jumped back to helping them as much as they can. And when Finn physically ripped him apart, he doesn't care and spilled his heart off that no matter what, he will stand with them because he loves them so much. Even then, he just bleeds out his characterization, where it's hard not to love him and wish more that he had more chances to shine in this series. But luckily the rest of the season didn't ignore NEPTR again, as he does have another appearance in the later season 4 episode, BMO Noir, which I covered in my BMO video. But basically, BMO makes up a noir detective story in the treehouse he's taking part in to find Finn's missing sock. He gets knocked out, but it's actually NEPTR who wakes him up and gives us some info, and it's also shown that NEPTR does know about BMO's fantasy world and the identities made for all the critters in the treehouse, so it does imply that BMO has told him about it. Which might have implied that BMO also lets NEPTR partake in these type of off-screen adventures, but the next scene kind of disproves that.
We should hang out more. We're both robots.
No, NEPTR. I am not like you.
Yeah, the social despite everything, BMO sees NEPTR as beneath him and doesn't seem to care much for him, which is continually perpetuated for most of the show. Like seriously, I can't really like BMO too much when he keeps bullying them for no reason. Even NEPTR's ejected hearing that, just look at him. I wonder if this is another missed opportunity because BMO will later have a few story arcs about what it means to be alive as a robot and also a connection, so NEPTR also having some similar aspects could have been interesting to see developed. But no, he's treated like garbage again. This sucks. But in season 5 we get another primary NEPTR appearance and probably his last actual important role in an episode, Mystery Dungeon, where he, Ice King, Lemongrab, Tree Trunks, and Shelby mysteriously find themselves in a massive and deadly dungeon and need to find a way out. So yeah, NEPTR is pretty much immediately brought to the central conflict of an episode. And yeah, the dungeon is deadly as they nearly die in the first minute, but NEPTR apparently also modded themselves and their appendage is extendable and saves Tree Trunks. Though honestly I think Lemongrab is the most dangerous part of it at the moment.
Ice King, how do you taste? Make yourself into food, now!
Though NEPTR doesn't acknowledge he can literally make pies out of the aether, as Tree Trunks instead use their pie making skills in the convenient chamber. Also, I gotta give Tree Trunks props for maybe being the only person in the show to put Lemongrab in his place.
If you want a taste of my juicy apple pie, you better be nice. You got that?
I am sorry.
Then we get the funniest part of the episode. And they use the hatch the rat came out of, as Ice King acknowledges that it's convenient that Tree Trunk's skills were the thing that allowed them to escape, as NEPTR acknowledges that he makes pies too. Which again, why didn't he just do that immediately? As Ice King laughs it off, NEPTR can't believe that he forgot after all this time, and NEPTR still considers him to be his other father. Which, yeah, apparently Ice King completely forgot NEPTR existed. Now, I'm conflicted about this. Ice King at this point has been well established to be insane, and the dementia allegory has been firmly in place ever since I remember you. So him forgetting NEPTR does make sense in universe. But it sucks because it also makes the conflict in what is life completely pointless and thrown away. Like, it was maybe one of Ice King's most compelling moments in season 1, where he showed more layers to himself and genuinely just wanted a family and to treat NEPTR with love. But here, it's all gone because of a joke. And I don't know if I'm okay with that. Like again, think about if this dynamic returned, with Ice King still thinking that NEPTR was his son, and still desperately wanting company and fulfillment. NEPTR still has some love for him, even if he lives with Finn and Jake, and seeing how Ice King reacts to that and May would still try to appeal to him to get back that family aspect would be really interesting and heartfelt if it got attention. Like, in a way, you could say that it was him trying to relive his old life with Marceline that he had before he went crazy, that love and sense of family that he longed for and forgot and subconsciously wants to get again. This would have been so great. But no, he just forgot about him immediately. But then again, considering how Simon and Marcy ended, I guess it was inevitable.
I love you, Simon.
I love you, Gunter.
But still, I wish I got the drama instead. Then we get to the steam room where we get more creepy Lemongrab.
You can eat my body if you want to survive.
Wait, how is NEPTR sweating?
Oh, this ain't sweat. This is condensation from breathing too much. Talking to you. It's not hot.
I do not trust Tree Trunks with a knife. They have to fight a random monster, but we do see NEPTR does still show some compassion to Ice King, even if he gets hurt after.
Poppy, no! Ouchies!
I've also noticed that he calls Ice King Pappy, unlike Finn, who he calls Father or Creator, which is kind of neat. Oh come on, how did you guys not see that? But the final challenge is through a digital door, which Ice King knows that NEPTR can hack into, and reveals he actually thinks that they're BMO. Wait a minute, can BMO actually hack into things? I guess he had that universal port thingy. But then NEPTR breaks it to him that he's not BMO, he's NEPTR, and makes pies. Ice King then freaks out that he grabbed the wrong robot. And Tree Trunks forces Ice King to spill the beans in a speech that really should have been the Tree Trunks video because she does not back down this episode. I gotta give her props.
I got no time for nobody dancing around and acting a fool at my expense. Stop selling fib-bibs and give it straight.
Ice King admits that he was the one who brought them all to the dungeon to use each of their skills to pass a particular challenge, hence why they coincidentally were able to get past the dangers, and then lays into NEPTR, showing it's not even just the Treehouse family who abuses him. But NEPTR then immediately takes down the security door by just throwing a pie at it. Wow, was that easy? Also, I freaking love the way NEPTR did it in a shows what you know style.
Father, look at me.
And then once NEPTR proved his immediate worth, he showered praise from Ice King, proud to call him his son. Man, what a shallow and callous act after they spent the entire episode forgetting about him, only to rectify and appreciate him with his use of their agenda. Not like when Finn does the exact same thing, then it's heroic.
My son, the grand prize of my loins.
Can you say loins in a kid's show? Ice King then reveals he did it all to find the ancient sleeping magi of life-giving, with the ability to bring anything to life. And he was doing all of this to bring his Fiona and Cake fanfiction to life and make his characters real. You know what? I don't blame him, and I do the exact same thing. Lemon Grab then just randomly tries to kill him. Like, doesn't say he's mad that he got kidnapped and nearly died, just did it because he thinks he serves no other function. But it doesn't work anyway, as the magic just brings the book itself to life, to Ice King's immense frustration, as the Magi leaves to later become one of Ice King's friends and be randomly voiced by Dennis Snyder.
Blizz's best bro style. I brought tiny umbrellas.
As everyone gets out.
Why don't follow me?
But NEPTR actually doesn't leave and stays by Ice King's side and tries to comfort him. It's another great moment of characterization, showing NEPTR's undying loyalty even to someone who really hasn't treated him the best. He brings up the imagination zone from his first episode, and his characters will always be real there.
Of course they can. Dreams are real.
Then I will wait for you from across the threshold of consciousness.
Give it a few years for the spin-off Simon, and then you'll finally get what you've always wanted. And yeah, this episode, it's a lot to take in, but it's still enjoyable. I kinda wish we got more of the characters interacting with each other, as none of these guys would ever meet otherwise. Like, come on, NEPTR and Tree Trunks should have had a lot more moments together. They would have worked so well off each other, and they get pretty much nothing. Oh well, at least Sora and Lemon got some fun interactions. I did like seeing NEPTR in on the action, and it really makes me wish they had more episodes where he could actively be a part of the plot, because it works so well. Unfortunately, as I said, it also removed a lot of compelling aspects about NEPTR, while also reintroducing it, showing that even though NEPTR does remember and still care for Ice King like a father, and wants to make him proud, Ice King forgot about them despite everything they went through, and only respected him once he helped with his schemes with very little acknowledgement that he wanted him as a proper son. Again, I just think it was worth it, when we could have had so much more exploration of it, since it's the type of thing Adventure Time loves to use and develop, but it's pretty much thrown away for a joke. I used to be mad at Finn for forgetting about NEPTR so often, but we see it wouldn't have been any better if Ice King did take him, and say he would have been inevitably forgotten, showing that he really can never catch a break in this show. But at least we get some of that at the very end where he consoles Ice King and tries to help him reach his dreams, showing out more of his unconditional loyalty and support, and it's really sweet. But unfortunately, again, this is the only time we see something like this, and NEPTR is never actually given any sort of spotlight again. And yeah, what better way to show that than the season 6 episode, Sad Face, where unlike before, it does seem that BMO does show a bit of respect for NEPTR, as he invites NEPTR to see a strange thing, which does imply they are starting to form a bit of a bond. And that being that once a month, at night, Jake's tail will stretch out and leave the treehouse, weirdly implying it has its own sapience, as he track it down to watch them, as NEPTR wonder where it goes. And I don't think anyone could have actually predicted it, but it turns out Jake's tail gathers up things and then becomes a popular clown known as Blue Nose in a bug circus. What is this, Bug's Life? And yeah, it's just as weird as you'd think, even for Adventure Time filler. But there's really not much to talk about aside that he's also trying to free a chipmunk the circus is using as a sideshow, so that's some pathos at least. Well, except for the part where it's showing that he wants to make more personal and provoking art, but is forced to resort to generic slapstick comedy since it's more popular and profitable, which honestly hits needlessly hard as a content creator. But yeah, really not much to say here aside from that horse is drawn weird, right? Like, compared to James Baxter and the others, I can't be the only one. But moving on to another season 6 episode, Furniture and Meat, it seems that BMO has warmed up to NEPTR some more as they're actively playing with each other. So at least they have become kind of friends, even if BMO still thinks NEPTR's beneath him. Getting some big Greg and Riley vibes here. and permeated by them playing Robin Hood as NEPTR says he wants to be Friar Tuck instead of the sheriff, which Beamo refuses and draws an evil mustache on him. What a little meanie. But as they're playing around, they kickstart the plot and show how overflowing the house is with gold and need to spend it. Also, the ancient psychic tandem war elephant finally comes back, which, yeah, what did they do with them after they wished them? They also apparently forgot about it after risking everything to get them and let them in their foyer. Man, Finn and Jake just cannot respect or remember the people they worked to get. Might be even worse than NEPTR, honestly. I mean, at least they finally got to use him to fight off Darren in something big and then set him free. NEPTR is also the one who directs him to the Wildberry Kingdom, somehow getting a flyer for it. Maybe NEPTR checks on the mail?
Whoa, we get mail?
But it's soon Beamo and NEPTR are following them, setting up the climax. So they're pretty much irrelevant for most of the episode as it plays out like it did, and I already covered it extensively in my Raggedy Princess video, which you should really see before this. But they become driven with their money, pissing off Wildberry Princess, who decides the best course of action is to confiscate their money and publicly execute them by game of throwing them with their molten gold. If it sounds like that's 0 to 100, it is in the episode too. But before they can die, Beamo and NEPTR arrive as Beamo shoots an arrow to freaking kill that guy, Jesus! It's not murder, it's just a prank. It's a prank, bro. Remember when NEPTR did pranks? It seems so long ago. NEPTR also arrived with the getaway horse so they can make their escape. Man, it took a while to catch up. It's been like a full day. Maybe NEPTR triple wrangle up that gummy horse. NEPTR, for the most part, just gets quick cameos like him with Beamo listening to Jake's story and Jake the Brick, and him sleeping in the visit before Finn met back with his dad, showing NEPTR does indeed sleep to some degree. But it gets a more important part in Season 7's football, where Beamo's alter ego takes over his life. When Beamo comes to make an announcement that he's football, NEPTR shows up as it's clear that no one's really taking them seriously, as then to make some pies for them to eat. Which does confirm that NEPTR's pies are actually fully edible and he can change the ingredients however he wants. Okay, NEPTR can literally make infinite and perfectly edible pies at any moment. How is he not like the most loved character in the show? Man, Tritos has become irrelevant now. Actually, I wonder if there's like still a huge taste difference, like if it's that one scene in SpongeBob, like Tree Trunks just tastes a lot better. But anyway, Beamo then freaks out in his imagination where everyone's concerned about him and he starts smashing stuff as NEPTR asks what's going on, and then we get this scene that makes me hate Beamo.
Beamo? Beamo! Beamo, why?
Like, come on, just smash NEPTR, what the hell? Like, really, didn't do anything. The poor guy just smashed and broken. Like, what the hell, Beamo? Look at him and tell me he's not the most abused character in the show. And what's worse is that Finn sees this and doesn't respond at all. Like, that is your son in agony, mortally wounded, and he doesn't care. He literally gets more upset when Beamo smashes the mirror. Like, come on, stop neglecting your son, damn it. Yeah, Beamo gets punished and put in timeout, but again, I think it's really more smashing the mirror than NEPTR. They're clearly playing favorites here. This is pure nepotism. Like, for the love of God, get him out of this abusive household. He's never even seen for the rest of the episode after, so I don't even know if they helped him, just lying in the floor suffering. He also appears in the Mo You Know, which I also covered extensively in my last Adventure Time analysis, so I'll just talk about NEPTR, where Beamo once again proves how callous he is by needlessly insulting NEPTR in the first minute.
He's so smart. I bet he could even fix NEPTR.
What? What's wrong with me?
Like, okay, I thought you guys were becoming friends, but no, make his self-esteem even worse.
Beamo only cares about one special guest.
He also cheers when Amo and the guys of Mo says Beamo needs to leave on a pilgrimage, which you can't chalk up to his optimistic and happy-go-lucky nature going along with Mo says, but I like to think that he's doing this because then Beamo will be around to physically and verbally abuse him anymore.
Hooray! Hooray!
Hooray?
Hooray!
And then later on, and I think the only time NEPTR was actually won in an episode aside of his first appearance, where Jay calls him to liven up the party with some rapping, which is the first callback to it since it was introduced, as he immediately tries to, but then gets yelled at by Mo to stop. Again, he just cannot get a break. And then later on, he's knocked out by Amo and framed for taking his legs as Amo demands they kick him out. They are of course suspicious and notice he's knocked out with a massive dent and they try to investigate, which, wow, okay, this time they're gonna check out if he's okay, but in football he just smashes to pieces and they don't care. But at least at the end he's okay and joins the others to meet Beamo before he has this massive introspection moment, so we can move on. And wow, another Beamo episode in Angel Face. And by far the most important part of this episode is that in the title card, NEPTR is drawn holding a goddamn gun. Holy crap, NEPTR is packing heat! There is official art of NEPTR with a pistol. Can you imagine if he had that the whole time? Then he wouldn't take anyone's crap, and he's earned it.
What is going on in here? BMO? BMO!
To the episode itself, NEPTR only plays a small part, where BMO also gets into partaking in this cowboy roleplay, where BMO and Jake find their way into a cardboard town named Dead Gold Gulch, where an ambush is staged that BMO fights through and smashes the town. And it's shown that NEPTR was the one who built it and took 3 months. Now, first of all, kinda seems really long for 3 months for this. But then again, NEPTR doesn't have hands, so it's more understandable. But then again, he was also able to build giant mechs in under an hour, so what gives? But even more pressing is that no one actually knew where NEPTR was for that long.
Spent the last 3 months building all of this.
Oh, that's where you've been?
Seriously, didn't notice NEPTR was missing for 3 straight months. You people are terrible. You lost him for over a year, and you still forget where he is for months. Like, what if he got lost or hurt? You guys wouldn't even notice. Like, this video just making me realize how terrible Finn and Jake are when they don't care about NEPTR. But NEPTR did all of this for a Finn cake and not even a special sentient sandwich. Wait, can he even eat? Does he have a digestive system? I mean, he has a tongue. This is bringing up too many questions. Also, I thought Finn cakes were only made by Finn and only he's allowed to eat them, so did BMO make his own or did he steal it so NEPTR can have it? But NEPTR is also playing the role as an outlaw, Tumbleweed Turk, as BMO harshly interrogates him, kicking and punching him the whole time. Christ, leave him alone! It's also implied Mimo also met NEPTR before he got here.
It's just like I told the other bounty hunter, I swear.
Which is weird. Mimo is an assassin. I doubt she'd leave NEPTR alive and unharmed. Wait, was Mimo of all characters nicer to him than Finn, Jake, and BMO? Wow, I just can't with this. An assassin was nicer to him than his family. Moving on. Okay, one more.
Why I was created.
Let's go! Jake, wake up!
NEPTR gets a cameo in Jake's really catchy song and flute spell. Like, wow, he has such universal chill.
Made myself a boat and I sailed with a whale. Took TV to the market so he could try kale.
Mars is in a coma and she might not wake up.
I'm glad you got a friend now, even though that's messed up.
Where he briefly sings that he fixed up NEPTR after he fell from a tree. Well, this does at least show that they are capable of facing him up and have off-screen, and that they do care for him after all. Though I wonder how NEPTR got in that tree. Something tells me this didn't notice he was gone until he fell again, which watch your freaking kids. But we get to the really important episode with NEPTR that almost changes their relations. The episode Don't Look, where Finn gets cursed with magical hermit eyes and forced to turn whoever he looks at into what he personally sees them as. Jake is a supportive jock older brother, BMO as a little angel, PB as a spunky tomboy, and Ice King as Simon Petrikov in his underwear for some reason. But yeah, Finn doesn't really want to hurt anyone and goes back home where unfortunately he sees NEPTR, who turns into an inanimate microwave. Showing that Finn does indeed just see NEPTR as an inanimate object without a soul.
We just met, and you're probably going through a lot of personal stuff right now. But I really like you, NEPTR.
You turned him into a microwave. So, yeah, you kind of did.
But, that's not how I see NEPTR, is it?
To his credit though, he immediately panics thinking he killed NEPTR, and then really worries that he sees him that way. He thinks of how he really sees NEPTR as his son, and he feels so horrible, he's a terrible person, as the eyes force him to turn into a monstrous creature who resembles his own father. Uncivilized Elk made a great video on this episode, and I will reiterate a few points he made on this aspect of the episode. It's interesting how after he turned NEPTR into a microwave, Finn thinks about how terribly he thinks of his own son, and turns out to a monstrous version of his own father. But if you notice, Finn throughout the show treats NEPTR practically exactly like how Martin treated him. When he first met Finn, Martin feigned interest in him just to appeal to his emotions, as Finn generally wanted back a familial connection he never got, as Martin just used it so that Finn could help him out.
Son? Oh, hey, good for you, kid. In other news, I still gotta get out of here and the ground is melting.
We need to talk.
Yeah, okay, kid, but hurry it up. I'm trying to act cool here, but this thing really stings. Hey, Daddy's back. You and me, Daddy and baby.
And then when he wasn't useful, he ditched him immediately.
I gotta run to the store.
Chew faster, that guy's really moving. Stop! Gross.
Pedal to the metal.
And then pretty much the same thing happened in The Visitor. He feigns interest, gets the Moogle-looking visitors and him to get what he wants, and then starts to leave.
It's family that's important. Like to help people, don't you? I'd do it myself if I could, but I'm too strong to fit through the service hatches.
Why didn't you tell me about the heat dump in the first place?
I don't know. Wink.
He only saw Finn for what he could provide at the moment and never really cared for him after. And as much as Finn's resentful, he's done the same thing to NEPTR. He made NEPTR to prank Jake and was pleading for him to stay with him so he can do it. But when he did, he had no use for him and forgot about him for over a year, treating him like disposable garbage. And then when they accidentally found him again, same thing. Feigning appreciation for him until he immediately proved the services he needed and disregarded him after.
About the game.
I missed you, Creator.
And we miss you too, but NEPTR, right, sir? Will you help us build fireproof suits?
Finn doesn't treat NEPTR like a son, but as an object to be used and thrown out. And for the first time, Finn has to see firsthand how he really treats him, and consciously or subconsciously, he knows he's acting just like his deadbeat father. And this could have made everything before worth it, as Finn realizes how horrible he's been. But Jake appeals to Finn, saying that his perception of people isn't black and white. You can't physically represent the entirety of how we see people. It's just one aspect to them. He could see NEPTR as a microwave because he is a microwave. And with their help, they're able to restore Finn's perception of himself and take the eyes out, where NEPTR technically saves the day by microwaving the eyes that turn everyone to normal to make eye pie. And for the only time in the series, Finn congratulates NEPTR and everyone cheers and rallies behind him, carrying him like a hero, and the one time he should do with genuine love and respect. You love to see it. But unfortunately, aside from this one moment, this character revelation doesn't affect anything. Finn doesn't apologize to NEPTR for how he treated him, and then he's pretty much again just forgotten into the background, never getting the respect and attention he deserves. It sucks because the episode acknowledges how NEPTR is being treated and how awful it is, but it doesn't actually lead to any changes, so it feels almost pointless when it could have been the character development sorely needed. They were this close to fulfilling it, but it came up too short. NEPTR's next appearance is in the musical, where it's showing that both he and Flame Princess form a rapping band. And it is neat that, well, he has someone who genuinely appreciates him and they work well together, but at the same time, we never actually know about their relation beyond that. I mean, NEPTR's only interaction before was 4 seasons ago and he tried to kill her. Even though this relation has been established and shown multiple times, it's shown in our last episode, Son of Rap Bear, where he's starting to rap at the party, but they don't interact, and in the finale, where NEPTR's resolution is still just rapping with them. We never actually get to know about them. Are they friends? They have never been seen talking to each other. Is their relationship strictly professional? Come on. Like, really think about it. Flame Princess and NEPTR could have had a great relationship. NEPTR is so earnest, always willing to lend a hand and not judge people. It wouldn't perfect for FP's internal struggles, as he's probably just what Cinnamon Bun was. But I'd argue even stronger a character. NEPTR has huge daddy issues and can relate to being neglected and treated like garbage. Hey, remember when NEPTR struggled with his urge to be evil just like Flame Princess? Remember when NEPTR had an obsession with princesses? The show sure as hell didn't. No, rapping is the only aspect of NEPTR that should be explored and referenced now. Okay, I genuinely think that getting a rap hobby is the Adventure Time kiss of death for character development. Next up, at the start of the Islands arc, NEPTR gets a brief scene before Finn, Jake, and Susan go to find the rest of the humans in the mysterious islands. They leave the house as NEPTR is apparently there without their supervision. Wait, shouldn't Fern be in charge of something? He's excited that he and BMO can cut loose.
Look, BMO, I'm pretending to trash a hotel room.
Yeah, this is really breaking the rules. It's not like you did anything with pranks or anything. But yeah, BMO slug along with the three, so it's just NEPTR and Fern in the house, which they get left behind during the Elemental Saga when they come back to find all of them candified and NEPTR is now Nectar. Love that he's made of gingerbread.
NEPTR is so cute now. I'm going to start treating him as an equal.
Yeah, this proves that BMO has never actually warmed up to NEPTR and still finds it beneath them. You really disappoint me, man. So while the candy elemental influence turns people into overly jolly and sweet caricatures, NEPTR doesn't really feel too different since he was always optimistic and upbeat, even when continually put down by life. And yeah, it's not the show is going to let up on that. Now, NEPTR isn't too important in the next episode, but still worth bringing up. In 3 buckets, where his main appearance is, he's just another one to I am Spartacus breaking Jake's Vuvuzela.
Oh, it was me! I'm the Vuvuzela Smasher.
But the episode is about Finn and Fern. Fern is kinda complicated if you don't know. Long story short, he's Finn's consciousness created by a time paradox thanks to Prismo, in a physical body manifested by the grass sword slowly being manipulated by the curse of the blade, corrupting him and turning him evil. He's struggled a lot with his identity and just seen as a copy of the real Finn, which is making him do what he's about to do. But first...
NEPTR could come. Hey NEPTR, you want to go on an adventure, buddy?
Oh my glob, hold on.
Actually...
Oh my god, we were this close, damn it! NEPTR has never been on an actual adventure since season 1. Well, okay, willingly. This was his chance! But Fern just wants Finn and him to go to his particular adventure as bonding, which is a ziggurat climbing up non-infinite stairs. Finn tries to appeal to Fern, but he goads Finn deeper before revealing he's trapping them there. He's gonna replace Finn since he's been in his shadow long enough and he'll take over his life. But most of all...
Hey, do you know who my favorite is? It's NEPTR. I'm a NEPTR guy.
Yeah, Fern actually likes NEPTR and considers them his favorite, which is amazing since Finn really doesn't. But it's kind of easy to see why, because Fern's basically got the same rap as NEPTR. He was cobbled together one day and came to their life, but due to the fact that they're so out of place and just can't get people, they're often ignored and just kind of treated like trash. Both are the underdogs in their own story, and deal with constant feelings of neglect and self-loathing, which it makes perfect sense that Fern pities NEPTR, and also is rooting for him because he sees so much of himself in him. But while NEPTR is able to take an optimistic point on life despite his neglect and abuse, the curse is taking hold, forcing him to take desperate action. But yeah, Finn's pretty much left to die there, since even if Fern says he'll give him a bucket of trash each month, he's not gonna live that long, and know that is gonna bring up some Hall of Vigorous trauma. But luckily, thanks to PB's new robot arm, he can break down and confront Fern, which I'm sure will lead to no emotional trauma here on after.
I know that look. You just killed someone.
He's right, you know. Unfortunately, NEPTR's last appearance that I haven't mentioned yet was in Bananas, the kinda calm before the storm of the final season, where Finn and Ice can go to try and remake an old pre-war comedy magazine, where Finn worries he's not funny enough while Jake's missing. But yeah, everything's abandoned. Okay, so Bethesda gets crap for blatant skeletal environmental storytelling, but Adventure Time could do this and no one cares. But back to NEPTR, he doesn't appear until the last minute where BMO is just drawing on him. Now I would count that as bullying, but NEPTR seems happy with it. And I also mentioned his minimal role as son of Rat Bear. Well, okay, except for this little insight.
NEPTR only just found out there is a face on his can, and now he thinks the can is his conjoined twin.
I don't expect you to understand the bond I share with my family.
You know, it's about time that was acknowledged. And technically, he was the one who gave FP the idea to go to her father, but then again, if they were partners, there should have been more of an explicit relationship. But I also gotta mention the finale where he's inexplicably in the battlefield. Again, BMO gets to stay home, but no, draft NEPTR into the war. Wait, is he gonna fight living pastries with his own pastries? I mean, maybe I'm underselling NEPTR. We gotta remember the poisonberry pies and they can literally throw an infinite amount of them. But then again, no one expects a little chaos god to come down and nearly destroy Ooh. You got him, buddy. Also, Huntress Wizard saved NEPTR, proving she is one of the greatest characters in the show. Maybe she should get a video, but I don't know. Tell me who thinks he deserves one.
Hard meat don't get eat.
But that's it for NEPTR.
What?
He's a big evil alien stuck in a penguin!
Oh, I see.
He doesn't appear at all after. Not even through all of Distant Lands or Fiona and Cake. And come on, he didn't have a counterpart there. I mean, he should have been the alarm clock if anything instead of BMO. Actually, wait, shouldn't he be alive in Jersey and also a robot? What gives? So yeah, that's it for NEPTR. It's really hard not to be disappointed. And that's pretty much how I can describe NEPTR's treatment. Disappointing. I think he's had it much worse than Flame Princess or Lady, since at least they got a few spotlight episodes and their characterizations and dynamics were explored somewhat. NEPTR had a bunch of interesting aspects, but the show never bothered to develop them further. He was made as a prankster, never gets acknowledged. He had an evil influence in him and a desire to kidnap princesses named Ice King, also ignored immediately after. His expertise and skills of robotics, never utilized or mentioned again aside from maybe that one modding comment. But hey, he rapped once, that means that's all he is. His devotion and dynamic with Finn as a creator was barely acknowledged, as he essentially threw him out and forgot him. Ice King wanted him as a protege to fill his loneliness, got thrown out for what felt like a cheap joke, as NEPTR became the butt monkey of the franchise whenever they wanted someone to bully. And for Adventure Time to do this, a show that has garnered so much respect for how it developed and fleshes out its characters from one-note randomness to three-dimensional people you feel are real, it's just a disappointment. NEPTR already envelops so many themes that Adventure Time loves to tackle. Family, abuse, trauma, neglect, abandonment, what it means to be alive. They could have done so much. but they just didn't. NEPTR had the potential to make so many insightful relationships to other characters aside from Finn and BMO, which are insanely shallow, or Ice can only mattered once. And I think there is one character who would have paired perfectly with them that's a criminal this show didn't use them. Raggedy Princess. Again, I talked more about her in my video on her, but she's one of the most emotionally developed out of all the other princesses, and arguably even the main ones. She's a patchwork being suffering through so much self-loathing and loneliness, wanting a purpose and to be loved, linked to a soft-spoken and meek personality, but still remains an optimist, and vents her feelings through her art, namely her poetry, her skills in stitching and repairing, and she's mocked by others because of her insecurities, as the case with our favorite problem princess.
A raggedy princess can be your new Hambo. She'd do it too. That girl's got like zero self-respect.
You're the freaking worst!
I'm not a bad person.
There's so many similarities that's a crime they didn't ever interact. Like, hey, remember when NEPTR had an obsession with princesses? Here's one who can relate to him on a level no other character can. And she more perfect as he wasn't one of the princesses Ice King showed to him. As I said before, I'm going to prove this could have worked really well by pitching my own little episode concept where NEPTR and Raggedy finally gets the spotlight. So it started out with a normal inciting incident with Finn and Jake going to leave on an errand or adventure like a few episodes have, maybe taking BMO with him, maybe to their off-screen soccer practice or to the Mo factory. NEPTR of course wishes them goodbye, but thinks longingly on their adventures, thinking how they always save the day, but trying to distract themselves maybe with some rapping. But they get a knock on the door, which NEPTR checks out to see none other than Raggedy Princess coming to ask Finn and Jake for help. NEPTR is fascinated with them, happy to see a princess for real, but says that Finn and Jake have already left and won't come back for a while. Raggedy Princess is disappointed, but thinks she just wait for them to come back. But NEPTR is ever the optimist, and wants to be like his dad and help out a princess, he says he can help her out. Raggedy isn't sure, but he reassures them that he's Finn's son and he's a hero too. Raggedy hesitantly agrees, and she takes him to the Rag and Bone Kingdom, where she explains that her kingdom has been taken over by a monster and she's pretty much homeless. NEPTR wants to be Finn and takes a rusted pipe or something as a sword and wants to fight them off. But then it's shown to be, let's say, Gary the Mermaid Queen. We haven't seen them since season 1.
Which one of you mortals wants to mate with all this?
Taking the Junkyard as our new kingdom, and made for weird carnivorous children. NEPTR tries to attack like Finn, going all on guard, playing it like a game, only to get smacked around for his troubles. Raggedy comes to help, saying that they might as well just get Finn's help, but NEPTR's determined to fight for them. Here's another plan of attack. Later, Raggedy then goes out to Gary and asks nicely for them to leave the Rag and Bone Kingdom, and is about to get blasted for her troubles. But NEPTR comes in a sneak attack, throwing his special pies at Gary, and while it's more successful, it's no match for Gary's power as he's blasted with tar and sent downhill. Raggedy runs tries to help them out, but NEPTR spins his way out of it. Raggedy Princess thinks she might as well just give up and the Rag and Bone Kingdom was all she ever had. NEPTR tries to cheer her up, saying that she's a beautiful princess and she has so much going on with her. Raggedy is surprised since no one has ever really complimented her like that, but admits that she so often wishes she was anyone else and she's so alone. NEPTR admits that he sometimes feels that way, sometimes feeling forgotten and neglected, but learns to be happy with himself in the situation, just glad to be alive and still have a family of his own. He has so many things that make him special. He's able to make infinite pies and loves rapping and crafting stuff. He showed that Raggedy must have aspects that make her special. She admits she has a passion for poetry and crafting too, but it doesn't really get her far. NEPTR is sure she can do more than she thinks he can, as NEPTR also realizes he doesn't need to be like Finn to be a hero, and he can use his own skill in his own ways. And then if he's not good enough as he is, then he just upgrade himself. And he asks Raggedy where he can get some good robot parts, which Raggedy, being an expert in her kingdom, knows just the place, as NEPTR gets to work asking Raggedy for advice. Raggedy surprises herself by realizing her crafting skills come in handy here, helps as they work together to make another full-blown mech suit for he and her. Flying to Gary, Raggedy thanks to NEPTR, has confidence in herself, and demands Gary leave while she'll make them. Gary of course refuses and goes on the attack, but it's not NEPTR's first rodeo, as he uses the enhanced strength, speed, and durability of the robotic suit to fight off Gary on equal footing, able to combat her magic and abilities. As NEPTR shows he has one trick up his sleeve, embracing his pie-throwing aspect, making a huge cannon that blasts Gary with pies, sending them far away and defeating them. Raggedy's overjoyed to have her kingdom back, and gives NEPTR a princess smooch for appreciation, dubbing him the Knight of her kingdom, but most of all, naming him an actual friend. And NEPTR's happy too, getting to go on an actual adventure and win the respect of a princess, being a hero in his own way. And Raggedy doesn't have any depressing poetry for the moment, but makes an ode in his honor. NEPTR's art to finally gain this legitimate respect makes it go home, and promises he'll come back later and visit her sometime. And it goes back to the trio, says Finn and Jake are already back, and notice him come in and wonder what he's doing, where NEPTR says he was doing NEPTR things. And I just go, oh, okay then. Come on, telling me something like that wouldn't be so adorable and work well for the characters. Like, it would add some new and great dynamic to them, and also help why NEPTR's gone so often he just left to hang out with Raggedy. Adventure Time has done plenty of unexpected character dynamics that develop both characters in great ways, like with Flame Princess and Cinnamon Bun, where he went from a comedic doof to a strong and loyal soldier to his dedication to her, or with Marceline and Ice King creating one of the most developed and heartbreaking storylines. It would have worked for both characters so similar to find appreciation and respect in each other, and it's criminal that the show never took advantage of it and let both just kind of remain underdeveloped and stay within their introduced aspects. And NEPTR should not have been treated like trash. He was treated like trash in the show and by the show itself. They literally acknowledge it multiple times and yet they do nothing about it. And it's a thing that makes him so much more endearing to me and so many others because we want to root for him. We want to see him succeed and get the spotlight. There's a lot of things to love and relate to NEPTR. His optimistic and loyal attitude, his naivety, and how he's so often taken advantage by people. And he's honestly maybe one of the most compelling characters for a character who never got any actual attention. Unfortunately, it's doubtful that will ever change even if Adventure Time is still going. I doubt we're gonna get a NEPTR universe where he's a machine god king of Ooh. Actually no, that's awesome, they should do that. But I do hope that somehow NEPTR gets the attention and respect he deserves, and attempts to finally develop his character more than just a punchline, because he more than deserves it, even after the show pretty much ended. And I think he said so the best himself.
Not true, creator. You haven't failed NEPTR. Even if everyone burns, you'll still have me, creator.
I baked you a pie.
Oh boy, what flavor?
Pie flavor.